Hello, I'm Hansa Parch. Hello, I'm Hansa Parchment. You're watching Talawa TV with Crystal Davis.
I think the uniqueness of the Reggae Girlz is they embody the national motto of Jamaica, which is out of many one people. So when you look at the entirety of the Jamaica squad, you have dark-skinned girls, mixed-race girls, girls who have black and Asian in them. You also have the homegrown players, so like your Bunny Shaw, your Konya Plummer, your Den Blackwood. So what that means in terms of from a grassroots perspective is girls who are born in Jamaica can look at a Bunny Shaw and hear that authentic accent and say, you know, if Bunny can make it, then so can I. Once you hear that authenticity, that raw Jamaican accent, they should be able to look at a Bunny Shaw who's now our captain to say, if Bunny can do it, especially if you come from the same community, the same parish as her, if she can do it, then so can we.
I want to give a big bless up to the Reggae Girlz out there. They ain't believe in us. John did. Reggae Girlz, keep winning, keep inspiring. I know you're going to be great out there, World Cup. Sadella Marley, nothing but love. Bless up from DJ Khaled.
And I'm representing for the Reggae Girlz. You know what I mean? Big up on yourself every time. Especially if you're qualifying for the World Cup back to back. You know what I mean? Sidela, big up yourself. One love every time. You know the thing go. Blessing off a flow like a river. Blessing off a flow like a river. What the Reggae Girlz do? Left them name night earth like a queen. Me have to big up the top soccer team. You know Massacre represent. Jamaica support you every time. You know the thing go.
Hello, I'm Hansa Parchment. You're watching Talawa TV with Crystal Davis.
I feel like I'm from UK, you know.
See the moonlights on the town. Whoa, I'm getting ready. Talawa TV is in the town. Whoa, I'm getting ready. Got the corner on the telephone. Yeah, this is the Shout Out the Messenger, and you're watching Talawa TV with the host and best. Davis, take it away.
It's great to be here. I know that you're probably the biggest supporters of the Reggae Girlz. So what you do and the message that you spread for the girls, it's really appreciated.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And my apologies. Memory clearly isn't that great, so I do apologize. And I'm glad that you're back, and hopefully tonight won't be your last. And Mr. Lee, Mr. Jeremy Lee, sir, I think you are on mute, but you're definitely no stranger to the channel. How are you? Let's see if I can unmute you. There we go.
I think it was, yeah. I'm good now.
Yes, you're perfect.
Yeah, Siobhan. Yeah, big up yourself, Siobhan. Yeah, I never remember you. I never remember seeing you on the show. But back to Crystal. I gotta give it to her. I've heard a lot of guys say she's the reason why they start off to watch female football, and so that's one of the reasons why I'm pushing her out there to keep on doing your thing. Don't get discouraged. You have a band of brothers behind you, and what we try to do is to get female who think like you know, in the game, right, Siobhan?
Yeah,
so enough to you, Crystal, and keep fighting.
Yeah, because as you mentioned, a lot of persons, because I think the Reggae Girlz has been the most successful team in our football, and I think that was underrated. So what you've done for the local aspect of Jamaicans, you brought that sense of admiration to the persons know that, hey, it's not just the boys. The females as well. The females have the love as well. And honestly, if it wasn't for someone like you, Crystal, the YouTube space would just be crowded with the reggae boys.
Yeah. So we do, you know, we have lots of respect for you, man.
Hi, Talawers. How are you all? Good morning, good afternoon, possibly good evening. All depends on where you are in the world. Welcome back to another live stream. I am absolutely buzzing for this one, guys. I don't tend to get so excited when it comes to my interviews. There tends to be a little bit of a nerves. There is nerves there, naturally. One of my mentors told me, if you don't have nerves when you're going into something, it simply means you do not care enough. So naturally, I do have nerves. Believe me, a lot of people look at my interviews and they're like, you don't look nervous. Trust me, I've got butterflies as we speak. I've got the nerves and anxiety resting in my chest. And it all comes from a place of good. Before I bring out my special guest, like I said, guys, I am absolutely buzzing. I do want to remind you all, if you are new to my channel, because I know the channel is growing and I'm getting a lot of new faces, I do want to make myself very clear, especially when it comes to today's topic, right? My advocacy for Jamaica Football Federation to rehire a sports psychologist for the Reggae Girlz, it is purely driven, guys, from a commitment to the team's well-being. I'm pretty sure you guys this will not be the first time that you've heard me talk about mental health and well-being, and it will not be the last, because it is something that I hold close to my heart. Okay, I'm not doing this to go viral. I'm not doing this for views. I'm not doing this to poke fun at anyone or to step on people's nose. I'm doing it from a place of good. I believe that providing the Reggae Girlz with comprehensive support is essential to their success, to their added success. They're trying to go to a hat trick of World Cup on the bounce. And I think that, as I have said on multiple live streams, their physical preparation is equal to their mental preparation. And I will not be budged. I will not be frightened of. I will not be scared of. You can call me a feminist if you want. I am absolutely okay with that. While I respect differing viewpoints, I will no doubt, make no mistake, continue to champion this cause, because it's something that I am extremely passionate about. They say who feels it knows it. And I have had the privilege of working in football for over half a decade, nearing a decade. And I know what it's like working in marginalized environments. I know what it's like working in white dominated areas. And it's not pretty. It's not pretty, especially when you are Black. Okay, guys. So regardless of any personal opinions directed at me, I'm going to continue to do what I do, because, as I've said before, for the sake of fairness and equality, both the Reggae Boys and the Reggae Girlz should have access to a sports psychologist, right? And discrepancies in such provisions, I would say, could lead many to interpret the situation as discrimination. That's just my opinion, right? Don't knock me, don't shoot the messenger. And I think I have spoken for far too long. It's already almost 8 minutes on the clock, so I'm going to bring out my special guest. You guys have probably seen him around, especially if you're a massive fan like myself when it comes to the Reggae Girlz, or maybe just sports in general. He is big in the game like EA Sports. It is Mr. Nicholas Powell. How are you, sir?
I am doing good. Thank you for having me.
I like your backdrop. Sounds like it looks like you've got a signed shirt there behind you.
Yeah, I have a few pieces of articles that were signed, one by Usain Bolt and one by Devon Charlton,
Big
who
names.
has an indoor record for the 60 hurdles.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yes.
Amazing, amazing. And I am cautious of your time, so I'm not going to keep you for too long. Hopefully, within the hour, we'll be able to wrap things up. So, without keeping you waiting, I am aware of yourself, and I'm sure some of the guys in the comment section are as well. But for those of my viewers and subscribers who aren't aware of you, kindly tell us a little bit about yourself and why you got into sports psychology.
Okay, so I am originally from Kingston, Jamaica, and certified track and field certified coach through GC Foster in Jamaica, and came to the US on a track scholarship after a year of teaching high school and coaching. Came to the US on a track and field scholarship, got my degree in psychology and physical education, went back into the college system as a coach, and after several years saw the need for the mental side of training, realized that we have athletes who dominate during the development section, preparation phase. But when they went to championships, unfortunately, some of the times they didn't perform well. And it wasn't because of lack of talent or hard work, right? A lot of people believe that as long as I work hard and I have the talent, then I'm going to perform well. Unfortunately, it's not always that way. So the mental side, I realized there was a gap when it comes to mental side. So I went back to school, got my master's in kinesiology, sports and exercise behavior. and started in 2011 working with professional athletes. Started out with professional athletes, started tapping into college athletes and high school, but mostly with professional athletes on the mental side of training to get them to take their performance to the next level.
Awesome. I think one of the main questions that is probably on a lot of people's minds is how did you come to work with the Reggae Girlz? Because I mean, I know the answer, but it's not quite obvious. So are you able to let us in on how that came about?
So it worked out that I have a friend who knows of what I do and what I've been doing with athletes at the highest level. And that friend connected me with the doctor, Dr. Jillian Lawrence, and she connected me with the coach at the time, who is now the head coach of the Reggae Girlz, Coach Busby, and did an interview with him, did a few interviews between both of them. And I guess they were scouting out people to work with the team, and it just clicked. And he invited me out to work the first session under the guidance support of the Reggae Girlz Foundation, who was able to facilitate that. And we had chemistry. We hit it off right away. When I say we, I mean the entire team. The connection was there. So that's how I got into it. Don't let me lie to you about the year, but
you read my mind. You stopped me in my track.
yeah. No, I want to say it was right before during the pandemic.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe around 2020, 2021. How long did it last? Because it seemed like it was a short stint.
It was a short stint. We had a few sessions, but for some reason we weren't able to continue it. Not because of lack of need or lack of connection, but I think it was more financial support, lack of financial support from the federation. Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe hopefully we can get. I'm gonna get onto that. I don't want to ruin the surprise. Hopefully,
Okay.
I can. Hopefully, we can get onto that as the interview progress. Before I forget my manners, massive shout out to the Reggae Girlz Foundation, First Lady Michelle. I learned something new just by you mentioning the Reggae Girlz Foundation. So big up to the Reggae Girlz Foundation for helping to I guess be like the mediator in helping to bring you on board and making sure that you're taken care of. So pick up the Reggae Girlz Foundation. Wonderful efforts for themselves, and hopefully something good could come from this interview. Hopefully in the near future. So in your opinion, or I should say, how do I start off this one with the Reggae Girlz? Let's focus on your experience with the Reggae Girlz. So from your experience with the team, what are some of the key psychological challenges that female athletes, particularly those from Jamaica, face in international competitions?
That's a good question. It varies. The situation varies. Depend on their development, depend on the programs, the teams that they go into, how open they are. We can.
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Okay. How open they are to receiving the psychological support, right? A lot of programs, especially on the international overseas, they're big on including the mental support for athletes. That don't mean all the athletes utilize it outside of the regular team. So when it comes to going overseas, you'll see a lot more athletes are able to get that support. Again, they have to utilize it as much, but in the Caribbean, it's not as much, and we're working hard to educate not just athletes but coaches about the importance of sports psychology and including that, because a lot of time it's not taught because the coaches were not taught how to teach sports psychology or how to implement it, and most people use sports psychology as a reactive thing. When things are going wrong, that's when they want to include it, which is why I applaud Coach Busby at the time, because he was more forward thinking to say, hey, I'm putting this team together, and it's going to take these different components to help the team to function. And that's when he brought me in to help not just the athletes who are based overseas, but also the athletes who were coming from Jamaica to mesh and build that synergy to help them to do what they need to do.
Wonderful. I think you touched on something, and it kind of made my mind wonder. And I'm just wondering how receptive certain athletes might be when it comes to receiving psychological support. And I'm thinking, and not just the athletes, that I think in terms of the athletes, I'm just wondering, maybe you could correct me on this, but in terms of the athletes, all I'm thinking of is it could come from a place of trust, maybe initially saying, because we grew up as Jamaicans, as being Jamaican born. One of the things that I hate now in hindsight is they get, like, our parents get this into our head where they say, you know, not everyone needs to know your business. And they're correct, but that is such a dangerous message to teach your kids, because we literally grow up saying not everyone needs to know our business, and we become almost like trapped with our mental challenges because we feel like we're doing something wrong. So I feel like maybe with the Jamaican athletes, it's a case of, it's that upbringing that's not allowing them to just lower their guard and say, look, I need the support, and I need to, like, reach out to someone, you know, reach out to a professional, because your friends can only help you to a distance. They can't help you, like, overall to get over those, you know, necessary hurdles. Am I right for thinking that?
That is correct. And we grow up with that mentality, and because of that, the person who is sitting right next to us might have the formula how to overcome a challenge, but we never share. One of the things that, as sports psychology consultants, sports psychologists, mental coaches, one of the things I had to make clear to Coach Busby when I came in, and to the staff, he was very open, and to let him know that the conversations that I have with the players are confidential.
Excellent.
So it's not coming back to him. When we work with clients, we want to provide a safe space that you can open up and say what you're dealing with, and not carry the weight of that onto the field to try to compete at the highest level. So he gave them the opportunity and space that we could have these sessions, individual sessions, provide support for them, and at the same time at the same time he was open, so it wasn't like go talk to Nick and that's it.
Yeah.
He provided an environment for a group and supported what I do and encouraged what I do, so that way when the coaches buy into the psychology, when the administration buys into it, then athletes are more open to receive it.
Amazing. I'm thinking of administrations and people. I have not named no particular administration. I know what some of you are like. You like to hear what you want to hear, not what you are being told, right? So let's just say administration in general. Administration, particularly here in England, it is typically run by the old boys club. So it's usually like men of a certain demographics, you know, quite old, you know, 50 plus. No offense to the guys who are 50 plus, I'm sure you look lovely. 50 plus, you know, white male, and so on. So do you think that in terms of getting the federations or associations on board, do you think the challenge stems from they are part of this old boys club and it wasn't like that back in their day, so why should they implement it now?
Unfortunately, I can't speak for the administration, but most of the time, specifically for our administration. But what I can tell you is a lot of times, because we produce high quality athletes over time, it's easier to recycle somebody than to work on the mental side. So, hey, this person's not performing the way we want. We're going to shift them out, and we're going to bring in a next athlete who is hungry and want to perform, right? So over time, because we have a factory, we don't have to spend time to fix one athlete. The minute they're not producing the way we would like, we switch it out. I think the biggest thing, and I keep going back to Coach Busby because I had the experience with him, is he believes in building the athletes up, the players up. And if he can keep the team as close to, from my experience, as close to the same as it has been, then we have greatest synergy among them. And now he doesn't have to reintroduce stuff to them. It's just switching it out little by little, if that makes sense.
It does make sense because I watch this team religiously. You know, the guys and the girls in the comment section, they watch it religiously, and it's so funny that you've actually touched on synergy, because that's been an issue with the team. Like I've said, you know, big up Lauren Donaldson for taking us to the World Cup and for getting us to the World of 16. No other Jamaica football team has performed better than the women's team at sports biggest stage, the arguably sports biggest stage, the World Cup. But I think much of what we saw in terms of getting to the World Cup and arguably even performing at the World Cup, the performance papered over multiple cracks. And one of the cracks that I identified in this team was synergy. Now, one could argue and say that the synergy might have been better if they had access to a sports psychologist. Is that too far-fetched?
We would hope so. We would hope so. We know that the inclusion of additional support makes a difference, right? Especially going into competition, a highly competitive environment like that, the more support a team can have, is the more they're going to be able to cope under the pressure that not only that the world is putting on them, but as they put on themselves. Because I'm going to tell you about these women. They are perfectionists. They are hard workers. They hold themselves to high standards. So they put themselves under pressure to represent the black, green, and gold. So having that additional support and having those people to where they can, for a minute, be human and just kind of say what they're dealing with, help makes a difference. So when we were connecting, when we were having workshops, we created environments, opportunities for them to network, and build a closer knit relationship. So which I'm gonna take a little credit for. I saw a lot of it, them supporting each other through the steps to get into the World Cup.
Amazing. And having worked with the Reggae Girlz, even though it was for a short stint, as we already alluded to, within that time span, can you share with us some specific techniques or strategies that you implemented with the team that enabled them to, let's say, manage their stress, their anxiety, as well as how to maintain focus? Because focus is a major part of the game.
Okay, so not all of them that we had to do that, right? Most of the time, like I tell you, these are elite athletes. A lot of them are playing at the highest level, so they're used to the stress. They're used to performing the requirement. The biggest part for me came in when it was right before camp. They would reach out to me looking for that support because they're anxious about going into the training camp and what is expected, right? So I worked with them individually on that to help them to help build the confidence going in. Because our goal is not to build confidence when we get to camp. Our goal is to come to camp with a level of confidence that I can show up.
Yes.
When they get there, the biggest thing that we've worked on and I talk with the coach about is about providing an inclusive environment that everybody feels a sense of belonging. So there were activities that we would do, team building activities that coach, not only the players, but also the staff was a part of, because it's not staff versus staff and players, it's a unit, right?
Yeah.
So when everybody know what the goals are and is in alignment, then we get them to move in the same direction as a unit. So that was one of the opportunities that we created to make sure that when they get to camp, we were able to integrate them soon, as quickly as possible, because they were there for a short period of time and required to play together. So even though they're playing at the highest level, they have different styles, and we needed to sync that as quickly as possible when we were working together. So when I came in, those were the things that I was working on. And then also provided one-on-one sessions for individual things that different people had. So whether it's visualization, mental relaxation technique, working on the confidence more going into certain competition, especially for people who were newer to the team, being called up, as we call it, for the first time. So yeah.
Wonderful stuff. I mean, you're the expert here. I've taken my fair share of beats on this topic that we're discussing, pertaining to the importance of sports psychologists. So I'll allow you to speak from a professional standpoint. How does the mental preparation of athletes differ from the physical preparation, and why is it equally important?
To be honest, I think mental preparation is even more important than physical preparation. Reason being, the mind guides us. We start moving. So it don't matter how much physically, how great of a shape I am in. If I don't believe that I'm in great shape, then I'm not going to show up with the level of confidence that is needed, right? And if I don't show up with a level of confidence, then I won't be able to develop the physical part of my preparation the way I'm supposed to. So it's kind of like, which comes first, the egg or the chicken? And in my opinion, it's the mental side is going to come first, because that's the mindset. When we wake up in the morning, I don't feel like it. When I go to practice, depending on what I'm dealing with, how I show up. So if we're not tapping into the mental side, preparing our athletes mentally, then no matter how talented they are, no matter how great equipment they have, no matter how great the coaching staff is, a lot of them won't be able to show up the way they're capable of showing up. And it won't be because they don't have the talent.
I agree with you. Finally, someone has said it. Someone has echoed the same tune that I've been singing for the last couple of months. So there you go, guys. From the horse's mouth, an actual professional echoing some of the messages that I've been delivering to you guys. So see, I am not trying to be anti no one. This is coming from someone who don't know me firsthand, that we're speaking of each other. And I think much of this leads to long-term gratification in terms of success. Fortunately, for these Reggae Girls, they are resilient women. I don't know them on a personal level, player to player, but clearly the results, getting to back-to-back World Cups, it speaks for itself. They are resilient. Though I think you shouldn't, as women, we shouldn't always have to be tough, especially when we're Black. We shouldn't always have to be the strong Black woman. It's something that I particularly dislike hearing people say of myself. And I wish people would stop. But just going back to the conversation, what are the long-term benefits of having consistent sports psychology within the program, and how it's integrated into the team setup?
One, it allows the athletes to come in with a sense of collectiveness. It gives them the opportunity to feel safe, providing that safe space. Most of the time, people perform at the highest level is when they feel most comfortable and at home, right? It's never when I'm stressed. If there's an environment where I'm not able to relax and unwind, then I can't perform, because I'm performing tense. And when I'm tense, there's more tension, and the performance is going to be off. I'm going to make simple mistakes. So implementing sports psychology into programs at all levels helps the athlete to have a place where they know whatever I'm dealing with, I am being taught skills to leave life situation when I touch the pitch, so I can
Yeah.
show up as the best version of myself. And the more consistent it is, where they can see a familiar face and they're not seeing somebody new every time. Now I got to come and tell you my story again. And personalities are different. So if we can implement somebody who is familiar with the athletes, have great rapport with the athletes,
Yeah.
is empowering, it feels comfortable. Even though I'm not on contract with the team, just about every time we're going into a training camp, I have athlete players reaching out to me, just touching base, like, Nick, this is what's going on. This is what I'm working on. Hey, what are your thoughts? And I'll help to provide that support because they feel like it's a safe space. And they know that whatever we have conversation about, I am not going back to coach. If
Yeah.
it's something that needs to be addressed with coach, I'm teaching them skills and walking them through scenarios to help build a communication with coach. So now we're having a closer knit because
Yeah.
coach can't read minds. So coach is going to make assumptions, right? Hopefully it's really good assumptions, but most of the time, if we can build a greater synergy among them, then now we're on the same page. So I know when to put an athlete or what to say to an athlete to help them to tap in to the next level or to push themselves to the next level. So that is what having a constant mental coach on staff would bring to the team to help them to feel to be more energized to perform at their optimal level.
I definitely agree with you. I think rapport, as you touched on, that is a massive that's a massive plus. Is an advantage, especially if you've built that up over a number of years. And it goes back to trust. It goes back to trust. When you meet someone for the very first time, for them to help you, you have to have some sort of relationship. A relationship has to be there. The relationship helps to generate trust. And you're absolutely right. You know, like even me, I'm waiting to speak to a new therapist because my old therapist, she left her post, and I had a wonderful relationship with her. And when she said she was leaving, like I was shattered because I'm just thinking this is mentally draining. I now have to build up a new relationship with a completely different stranger. And that in itself gives you anxiety because you're thinking, can I trust this person? Are they going to cater to my needs and so on? So I absolutely agree with you. You're forcing me to ask a question that I wanted to ask towards the end. So I kind of feel like I have to ask you that.
Let's make it work. Like they said, let him use you.
Do you think that there would be any chance, I should say, let me be very blunt about it. Would you consider potentially being reappointed to be the official Reggae Girlz sports psychologist?
Let me tell you, I love these girls, right? I was not a big football fan until I was introduced to these girls. I'm gonna be
Wow.
honest, right?
Wow.
I'm track and field by blood, right? Even though I know how to coach soccer and worked with high school soccer at Wilmer's Boys. Once I was reintroduced to these ladies, the team and just the unity. Every time I'm in Jamaica, I'm connecting with Coach Busby. We still have conversations. If they call me now and we can come to an agreement, I am there.
I love that.
No.
What will it take though? What would it take to? You don't have to go too deep, you know.
Right,
Privacy.
financial support to make sure that everybody benefits at the end of the day. So if I have the opportunity to work with, because I get it, there's not a lot of money, but I still have bills to pay, right? And I still have responsibilities. But being there, supporting, providing support, we still have powwows on conversation on how to support the team, what ideas, sharing books and all that. So we still have those relationships. As I tell you, the girls still reach out to me. We still have conversations. So
clearly your services is still needed.
Yes. And because of that opportunity, I even had the opportunity to work with the Reggae Boys also.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Which was we had good synergy because my approach is what we call applied sports psychology, right? So these are not stuff that I read in a book that we implement. These are applied stuff that have been tested when we're working with athletes. So when I'm there, I'm not there in that tie and we have our sessions and then I go back to my quarters. I'm using British terms, right? I go back to my quarters, sip my tea, and that's it. I am at the soccer practice running after loose balls, right?
Yeah.
I'm there if they need to pick up cones or set out something, I am there because I am fully engaged.
Get
I
stuck in.
remember there was an athlete, the first session, there was an athlete who was working on some fitness stuff. And I went jogging with that person because that was the only person out there that was running by themselves while everybody. So I went jogging with that athlete because when they realize that the person that is working with doesn't think I'm above, they're more open. It's not about friend thing, but they're more open to have conversations and realize that this person see me as a person and not just a number on the field.
I like that.
And that's what I think I bring to teams when I work with them, individuals, is to showing them the human side, that I understand the human side, but we're going to use that to tap into the mental side based on my applied training.
Wonderful stuff. And like I said, I've heard some wonderful reviews about yourself. So I was like, I definitely need to speak to that guy. Like, I really need to have a conversation with him and ask him the all important question. I think it's been on the tip of all of our lips. And I'm like, at what point do I ask this? Because I don't want to hear no.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you said no, you said no. I didn't want you to say no. Those conversations, who would you need to have those conversations with? Is it a case of speaking with Coach Busby as well as the federation? Just so we know, because we are going to be applying the pressure politely. We're not trying to step on no one's toes, but we're going to be...
Coach Busby already know my intentions, and is trying to figure out ways to get me, to get a mental coach back into the system.
Okay.
Right? As much as I would love for it to be me, I want to make sure that they have somebody that they trust and is able to provide that service. Yes, I want it to be me. Don't get me wrong, because we build synergy. I really enjoy when I'm there. The team is like a family. The staff that he's put together is like a family. So I enjoy being a part of that and how welcoming they made me. But if it's not me, and I would love to see somebody there that is going to add value to the players and to the team so they can continue on that path.
I think it should be you, and it's not just because you're sat before me. As I've said, I've spoken to players, current players, and like I said, they just say a lot of good things about you. And as we said, guys, rapport is so important in all of this. It's central to all of this. And you know, I don't know if you guys have tried to take care of your mental well-being, but as I said, with my therapist leaving her post, that gives me a lot of anxiety because it's mentally draining. I'm like, I have to go and trust someone else, and we're doing these therapy sessions over like Zoom, but it still feels quite intrusive. So I'm like, I'm letting another stranger into my home, into my world. I'm not comfortable with that, but to make myself better, I know that okay, I'm going to have to just pick myself up and go again. So I agree. I do think it should be yourself. You know, big up to Dr. Hamilton. I know I was reliably told that he works with the Reggae Boys. Fair play. The Reggae Boys have their sports psychologist. Can't say I'm not jealous because I am. But hopefully, guys, like I said, this is not going to be the end of it. After tonight's live stream, we're going to be applying more pressure politely. All right.
I'm live in England right now.
You are live all over the world, sir. You are in England.
So big up my family in England. Real Jamaican, right? Big up my family in England. Yeah, so I have family.
You know what you reminded me of? You remember like growing up in Jamaica when Christmas time and you would have those.
Yes. I want to say hello to my family down in Enfield Lock and
London, England. Yeah, that is very nice.
I love London also. So
yeah, you're even in Canada. You have people from Canada. You have people from the United States. So, like I said, you're big in the game like EA Sports, and a lot of people have some respect. They've got a lot of respect for you, sir. All right, so let's segue a little bit because, like I said, I only really want 1 hour of your time because I know that you're pressed for time, and I respect your I respect the opportunity that you've given me greatly. So let's segue just a little short while and let's talk about our captain, Miss Khadija Bunny Shaw. And you can see the headline, it does read for itself. Man City condemned vile individuals over Bunny Shaw abuse. I know you're familiar, you're in the loop with what happened to Bunny. You're aware of the abuse. Of course, Bunny was not available for this particular camp, which just wrapped up yesterday. 2 matches against Peru. One of the reasons cited, paraphrasing from Coach Busby, was to do with the fact that, you know, Bunny was recently abused in a game some weeks back. Also, she's just come back from injury, so her club would prefer if she sat this particular window out. But for me, do you think, you're sure you must have worked with Bunny, knowing what she is like as a person, do you think that she would have been in camp, maybe come to an agreement with her club to say, you know what, I want to be in camp because if I go into camp, I will have access to a sports psychologist. He understands me well. And right now, I need my mental well-being to be my highest priority.
And until talking to Bunny or one of the players on what exactly they're thinking, it's unfair to say what it is. But one of the things I know that a lot of the players, they enjoy coming to camp and the camaraderie, especially for the ones who are overseas and away from their roots as much, right? A team like Manchester and most of the Premier League teams, I know they have mental coach. So I would hope that she's utilizing the services there to provide that support. It's very tough when individuals are exposed to discrimination in any type of way, whether it's a female or a male, any type of way, because of the color of your skin. When there are other athletes who predominantly white, as you mentioned, when that can be hidden, it's harder when somebody stands out because of the color of their skin or because of female or because international, whatever. So having them in an environment where they feel comfortable and safe, that always helps. And where they can be around what they consider family, even though it might not be blood family. So it's unfortunate that she's going through, she's experiencing this, and I hope that the support, she's utilizing the support and not trying to do it by herself, because it can be tough.
Massive. Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. I think perhaps, you know, Bunny's case is, I agree with you, it's somewhat different because of the stature of Manchester City, massive club. So maybe, I think having worked both in men's football and women's football, there is some differences there pertaining to resources and who has access to certain resources. So certain clubs, not Manchester City per se, but certain clubs, big as they are, they tend to not focus on the women's team, so the women's team don't have equal access to their resources, right? And some of these girls, they play across different pyramids, across different respective countries, and the lower down the pyramid, the lesser their resources become. So chances of them who having equal access to a sports psychology, I think, is probably far and few, given what I know of like the state of the women's game, you know, finances and so on. But again, focusing on Bunny Shaw and the racist abuse, how can sports psychology help athletes like Bunny cope and recover from such experiences?
So the biggest thing I work with when I start working with a client, one of the things I try to do is help them before they even exposed to anything, is build a community. Because during this time, having a supportive community is going to make a world of a difference. We're in a scrolling generation now where people get their dopamine rush from social media and the likes. And there was research way back that says it takes 18 positive message to eliminate one negative message.
Wow.
Right? And especially if it's coming from people who you value or you feel like you're representing for. So that can be very harsh. So allowing the player to, one, provide a safe space where they can be vulnerable to say what they're dealing with. How I'm feeling is not just shake it off, don't worry about that, is but provide and say exactly what you're feeling with, and then having somebody to help you work through what you're feeling, what you're experiencing, and let you know that it's okay to feel that way and it's not acceptable for that behavior, and then surround them with the right people around them to help them to feel more supportive, makes a world of a difference.
That's quite intriguing. I'm wondering if those figures there that you touched on, if it varies depending on the demographics that you're focusing on. Like, for example, the Black community. Do you think that there will be a difference in terms of the, you said you made a reference to it for one comment, it takes like something along the lines of 18 positive comments for you to get rid of that one negative comment?
I didn't look at when I looked at the study years ago, it wasn't about race. It was just about people being how people internalize negative things. Even when I start working with an athlete, the first thing they tell me all the negative things that they want to work on.
Yeah.
And I have a philosophy, let's lead with your strengths.
Wonderful. Like that.
Identify the strengths first, because we feel better knowing we have the support, we have the talent, we have all the positive things, which gives us the courage to take on the things that we're not so strong in. So when we're working with teams and we build a strong armor, yes, one or two arrows might get through, but we have what it needs to do to now help not have a major effect, negative effect, as if we didn't have the armor around us. Or after you got wounded, now we're trying to put an armor around you. So it's providing that environment, which is why I was appreciative of Coach Busby bringing me in to talk to the to work with the team, build those synergy, so that way when they're going out into the world, they're a lot more prepared to deal with whatever challenges may come, and it doesn't negatively affect them as much as if they weren't prepared.
Wonderful stuff. I have to ask you, what unique psychological burdens do Black athletes carry, particularly in predominantly white dominating sports or white sporting environments, I should say?
I've been blessed to work in mostly predominantly Black teams or environments. So coming from Jamaica, to be honest, coming from Jamaica, race wasn't a big thing for us until I came to the US and found out there's a thing as racism, right? And understanding that just because you're Black or African American or from the African diaspora doesn't mean you don't have allies from other community. So I don't want to say it's a Black versus white. It's about when you come into organization is how do we make sure that our athletes feel inclusive. So for example, when we have the team, when I worked with the team, you had players from England, players who are based in the US, players who are based in Jamaica. It's different demographic, right? Based on where they are socialized.
Yeah, definitely.
Some of the players did not grow up on mainland Jamaica.
Yeah.
So they're gonna have different perspective of the culture, even though they may have Jamaican heritage. So how do we bring them together and build that synergy among them despite? So it's the same approach. Yes, it's Black, it's white, but not everybody who is white think the same way.
Facts.
As the people who are discriminative, right? So
that's true. That's true.
When you bring them together, making sure that you're building that synergy, making sure you don't assume that because they have been in England, they're not exposed to certain things. They're based in the US, they're not exposed to. Is making sure that we're building that and we're working on that inclusive cultural environment to make sure that they feel a sense of belonging. When athletes feel a sense of belonging, players feel a sense of belonging, they are more committed and perform at a higher level.
That is massive. That's really important, especially when you're dealing with players from the diaspora, because you want them to feel like you're not less of a Jamaican just because you're born within the waters of the diaspora. For me, once you put on that black, gold, and green, you are Jamaican. I don't really care about where you were born. You are definitely Jamaican. In terms of again focusing on the team, how can you as a sports psychologist address the potential of, let's say, imposter syndrome or feelings of isolation, again, that our athletes might experience?
As human, we all experience imposter syndrome, right? Jamaicans kind of different to a certain extent because we think we think we're the best.
Glad you said it.
Right. Yeah, we just already know it's just a pride that is instilled in us as a Jamaican. Whether from your parentage or you go there, do the work, eat that. Nobody can talk to you, you're the best, right? So sometimes we might have a little bit more inflated ego, but a lot of times self-confidence is not something that we struggle with as much, but we still experience it because we are human. So working with mental coaches is helping the athlete, like I said, lead with their strengths, know what their strengths are. And that is one of the things we work with the coaches to help the athletes, how to empower them, how to teach them, how to build them up so they are more confident as they pursue what they're pursuing.
Absolutely. And I'm all on board to get you reappointed, and I'm not going to stop asking those questions until I hear what I want to hear. So with that in mind, how can the team and its management create a sustainable and effective mental health support system for its athletes?
Like I said in the beginning, we have to stop looking at mental support in a reactive thing.
Yeah.
Right? It's not looking at it as something else we want to add. It needs to be already a part of it because it's mind-body connection that takes performance to the next level.
Yeah.
Right? And if we're just training the physical aspect and we're not spending time, and when you check, you'll realize, I take it you played football?
Mr. Powell, I was born with 2 left feet. I can just about stand.
Okay, cool. So most of the time, because I teach psychology or coaching, and I ask my students, I say, how much time, student athletes, how much time do you spend on the mental side of training? A lot of them don't spend much time, but they believe that psychology is more than 50%. The mental side is more than 50%, but they don't train it. We need to get people, and a lot of the organization, a lot of countries, federation already understand this and send 2 and 3 sports psychology consultants with their teams when they're going up. So we're showing up with raw talent, and they're showing up with raw talent, resources, plus proper mental training.
Yeah. Wow. One step ahead of us, several steps ahead of us, a matter of fact.
And we're still competing at a high level. Imagine if we had the support with the consistency of the support with them.
Yeah, they get that mental. And you know what? And I'm so glad that I'm speaking to you, because you can see this on the field of play. You can see this on the field of play when we stutter and we just stumble at the final hurdle. We don't drag ourselves over the final line to qualify for World Cups. Definitely where the younger generation is concerned, so like the youth team, you can see that. So that's an interesting thing that you've touched. I didn't think about it in that way, but that is definitely a intriguing one. Again, In terms of the team, I think this is an important question, so I do definitely have to ask it. How would you help the team deal with the stress of limited resources that some national federations have to deal with? And I'm not going to be around the bushes. We have to deal with some limited resources.
It's helping the players to understand that we're not going to get everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's to prioritize as a unit what are the key things that we need in order to help us to give our best effort possible. Yes, we would want everything across the board,
Mm-hmm.
right? And some of the time we get everything and we don't perform the way we're supposed to perform because we have resource to everything, so we don't have to hustle as much, right?
Yeah.
But it's to provide them with what are some key components that I would need to help me be present, and one less thing I have to worry about when I show up on this field.
I like that. Well, you have the experience of doing so because you've worked with them. It's a bit of a shame that it, in terms of officially with the team, being around the team officially, it's a shame that it only lasted a short period. But hopefully, by the grace of God, we can see your return in due course. Now, in terms of the next generation, we know how important the next generation is and always will be. So I have to ask, what advice would you give those young Jamaican athletes, particularly where the women are concerned, who aspire to want to represent our nation at the international level?
I think we're doing a great job with allowing, for example, I think it's a U17 where we see one of the former Reggae Girls is working with the team.
Shoshana Campbell?
Exactly, right? Allowing them to see somebody who has done it at the highest level come back and give back. And then especially with this campaign, football is freedom.
Yeah, football is freedom. Sedella Mali?
Sedella's campaign, where they are now going back, bringing members of the team at times so the players can see them and touch them. Most of the time growing up, we would not be able to see the people at the elite level in person, especially to come and work with us, especially when you're coming from the inner city or you're coming from a rural environment where you don't have the resources to go to a camp and all that. Them providing opportunities for the younger players to see the people, talk to them, play and get advice from them. It's encouraging that we are on the right track to continue to provide that support for them. So keep going, keep believing, keep because you know that it's possible for the younger players. You know it's possible because you see people who look like you that you may have actually touched, spoke to, took a picture with, and you know it's possible. And because of that, you know, as long as I keep doing the work, keep working to get better, this is possible for me.
Absolutely. Representation is key in every aspect. You touched on something, and I want to backtrack just a little bit before I allow you to go. I agree with you. When we talk about, we cannot kid ourselves, limited resources and so on. You know, football, where the women's game is concerned, it is growing. I think we're heading in the right direction. But when we're talking about Jamaica football in general, you're absolutely right. You're not the first person to say it. Former Liverpool legend John Barnes, when I interviewed him some years back, he echoed the same message as yourself. Like, when you come to play for Jamaica, you got to understand, like, paraphrasing, it's not going to be steak and chips. Sometimes you just have to settle for some bully beef and rice, because that is our thing. You know, it's the way that we are. So again, with your experience and your understanding of the setup and, you know, limited resources, realistically, what are some of the positives that we can have, and what are some of the negatives that we perhaps can't have for the time being? Not saying forever, but for the time being.
So I'm gonna start with positives. I like leading with the positives. Is I love the fact that they're able to have these camps for the athletes at times to so they can come in and have a few days to to really build that synergy, to build that chemistry before they actually play. And a lot of times they have good hotels. They have they take care of them for the most part, right? So they're
Yeah.
coming to that environment. I love the opportunities that they have to get great players to come back to. So like a player like a Bonnie Shaw, Tiffany, um, the
Cameron.
Swabies and
Yeah.
Spencer and Becky, one of the greatest goalkeepers in the league. To have all these players, just to name a few, don't beat me up if I didn't call your name. Okay, Jody. But right, but to have these players have access to come back and be passionate enough to say, hey, I'm gonna come and play for it, and then to have the resources like football is freedom, the
Yeah.
Reggae Girlz Foundation, that's and the people out there championing for them, and even the minister I've seen, doing her mentioning that she's doing her best, are making available resources, not trying to get involved in politics or anything, but just knowing that the people are out there providing that resource for them.
Mhm.
Again, they have been to places where they didn't have much resource. The teams that they're playing didn't have much resources,
Mhm.
but they were
Mhm.
showing up with heart. And that's the thing that I
Love
love,
that.
that our players show up with heart every time they're out there, and just asking the supporters out there to understand that these are humans showing up. So give them some grace. We're not, just because we have everything together don't mean we're gonna always win, because the other team is not sitting at home and be like, okay, we're playing Jamaica, so we're not gonna give it our best.
Exactly.
They're showing up, they're preparing for us, and they have less, sometimes feel like they have less to lose than us. So they're gonna throw the whole kitchen, this whole sink and kitchen table out to make sure to get the win that they want. So it's
Exactly.
making sure that our athletes have the support, not just financially, but also on the social media, empower them, because they're not going out there and not trying to give their best. They may not perform the way they want to, and they're already beating themselves up. You adding fire to it doesn't help them feel good about themselves. And if they
Exactly.
don't have the resources or the community that they want during that time, it can take a lot longer for them to recover from that negativity.
Exactly. I don't think I'm going to keep you for bang on an hour, because I feel like you've given me exactly what I need from this wonderful sit down. But just before I allow you to go, just two more questions. I feel like I already know the answer to this, but I'm probably looking at it from a media perspective, and you're the expert. But who's more receptive to receiving these mental health support? Athletes, as in track and field athletes, or footballers?
Yes. No, I'm being silly. But let me tell you, and I think this personality that I have is what the players say. So we're able to vibe, because I'm enjoying this. I appreciate you again for bringing me out,
Thank
bringing
you.
me on your platform to share. Athletes who are more exposed at the higher level are more open. So it's not
Okay.
necessarily track and field or footballers. It's the athletes who are placed in professional environment where those resources are more normalized,
Yes.
are going to be more open. That's why I say you have the players who are overseas, who are in teams that will have a mental coach, even if it's a week, every week session, or every 2 weeks. They're going to be more open to speak with somebody than a group that have never been exposed to sports psychology. The coach is not open to speak about the mental side of training. They're going to be a little bit more hesitant until they realize that. I had one player who kept running from me the first camp.
Wow.
Every time she kept running, I'm like, hey, you ready? So come back.
Oh, bless her.
Like,
Oh, bless her.
until she talked to one of her teammates, and she's like, "Oh, yo, he cool." And then she's like, "All right, you ready for me?" And no, I can't get her off my phone. Like, hey, I'm just checking on you, but I want to talk. Yeah, like, listen, I don't have no time for you, but we talk, right? So
Yeah.
is helping them to see more buy-in from the people who have experience. Talk
Yeah.
about it. The more they talk about it, the more coaches are open to support it. You're gonna see more athletes buy into it. So it's not just
Wonderful
football.
stuff.
I've seen it across the board: track and field, American football, netball, basketball, all of these sports. When they have been exposed to it more on an organizational level, they're more open to receiving it.
Definitely understandable, makes perfect sense. The floor is all yours. Before we close off, the mind game, very on brand. I don't knock you. Can you tell us a little bit about the mind game and how do we tap into the mind game?
Okay, so the mind game, my high school coach used to tell me when I was running track, he used to say, "Boss, it's your mind," right? And when I developed the company, it was the slogan is the mind game, mentally simplifying the game.
Okay.
That's the slogan behind it. Because life in itself, and it's not just sports, and it's performance psychology. So it goes across the board, whether it's corporations. I come into corporations to help them develop strategies and simplify, get the most out of their team building activities and stuff. So it's how can we simplify, no matter how big the how do you eat an elephant?
I don't think I want to attempt to do that, Mr. Powell.
One bite at a time.
That is true. That is
Right?
true. Yeah.
So no matter how big the task is, how can we mentally simplify it so you can feel more confident as you move towards it? So when I'm working with my clients, that's the approach. I never tell them their goal is too big. Is based on the goal you have set, what are the things we need to work on mentally and physically in order for you to have the confidence needed to pursue chipping away at this big task. So if you want to find me, if you feel like as an athlete you want to reach out to me, I travel all over the world working with athletes. You can follow me on Instagram at It's a Mind Game.
What about us normal folks that can't kick a ball to save our lives? Are we not?
That's why I said performance. Anybody who's if you want to expand your business, right? You want to reach more people, then we can sit down and strategize how to mentally simplify the game of getting to where you need to go.
Understood.
Right? So, like I said, corporations, it don't have to be sports related. It's how do I take because it's performance. Life is about performance. And as humans, if we're not trying to take our game to the next level, then we don't, most of us don't feel like we have purpose.
Yeah.
Right? So it's helping individuals set goals or redefining their goals and then re-engineering the goals to build the confidence needed to pursue it. So again, it's a mind game. TheMindGameLLC.com. You can reach out to me if you have questions. I'm on Facebook, Nicholas R. Powell. And I think that's it.
Get in touch, guys. As I said, I've heard a lot of wonderful reviews from the players directly about Mr. Powell, which is why I wanted to speak to him. And I hope, I know I share the same thought process as many of the guys there in the comment section. So I think I'll speak on their behalf that I do pray to God that what we want, which is for you to be reappointed as the Reggae Girlz sports psychologist, I do pray to God that it comes to fruition. And I'm going to say it will come to fruition because we're not going to stop. And when it does, I'd like to say I wish you all the best of luck. And above all, thank you so much for taking care of our girls, both, on the field of play and also off it. And you've played a role in us not only getting to where we are at the present in terms of preparing for another World Cup qualifier campaign, but by the sounds of it, you played a pivotal role in helping us to qualify for back-to-back World Cups on the trot. So massive respect to yourself.
All right, thank you very much. I'm not gonna take credit for the first one, but I'm gonna say I smiled a little bit when I saw them going out on the field for this last World Cup. And like I share, I love the team. I love my country, and I'm willing to provide the support needed to help however I can. I just gotta eat.
Listen, no one in the comment section is mad at you at that. And I love your transparency. I love your honesty. A man's got to eat, guys. And we all know what that means. Like, I love your transparency. I love the bluntness, straightforward. Food needs to go on the table, guys. Like, we're human beings here. So thank you for that. And as I said, you know, by the grace of God, hopefully we'll be able to come to some sort of a reasonable solution that benefits all.
All right, and thank you very much. You're doing an amazing job.
Thank you.
I will be following you now because I was new. I'm like, who is this? So I really appreciate it. You're doing an amazing job. Continue to do it. A shining light on the Reggae Girlz, not just the Reggae Girlz, but on the team, on Jamaican sports, because we need as much positive publicity as possible. So you're doing an amazing job. Keep asking the tough questions, the uncomfortable questions, because that's gonna help to change the trajectory of things and wake up some people.
Thank you. I definitely will be doing that. I know we're almost bang on 1 hour, but I am going to allow you to enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon, a pleasant week, and an even better weekend when it comes.
All right. Thank you very much. You too.
You're welcome, Mr. Powell. Take care.
All right.
Right, guys. What are you guys saying there in the comment section? Let me take a quick little glance. Mr. Warren Webster is saying, "We love you too much. Free ride. Pay the man or someone." You guys make me laugh. I will have to love you and leave you there, guys. The interview has come to an end. Please, I haven't said it yet. Do kindly hit the like button for me. And if you're new to the channel, do go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I'm trying to see if I can come back tomorrow to dissect what we've seen of the Reggae Girlz over the last 2 days facing Peru. But I do have a busy schedule tomorrow. I'm completely snowed under, and I know I'm going to be shattered, but I will be trying my best to see you guys tomorrow. If I don't, I will see you over the weekend. If you're making your way home from work, I know it is a early one of my earliest live stream. Nevertheless, I do hope that you make it home safe make it home safe and unharmed, because walking through your doors is an underrated blessing. Have a pleasant evening and a wonderful weekend when it comes, and you know how it goes. Until next time, take care.
I'm John Barnes, and you're watching Talawa TV with Crystal Davis.